Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Revolution Within podcast with Dana. I'm Dana. I am your host. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Before I get started on today's episode, if you want to work with me or reach me or just send me a message and say hi, my email address is Dana, DANA, at revolution-within.com. And you can find me on Instagram at revolution_within31. And my Substack is revolutionwithin31. So let's get started this week, huh? Originally, I was going to talk about there's this controversy, plagiarism, accusation, implication right now from an artist and poet named Cassie Phillips, who wrote a poem called Let Them in 2019, and it went viral, what a cozy word, in 2022. And then she wrote like a follow-up to it called Let You, I believe. I wrote an article about it on my Substack this week. And then apparently Mel Robbins is being accused of plagiarizing her work because at some point Mel had either referred to the poem or posted the poem on her Instagram or something. There's anyone who knows me knows that I'm a really big admirer of Mel Robbins and her message and her trajectory, her podcast. When it comes to this particular issue, I kind of think that in a lot of ways, both things can be true. I think that Cassie originated it, but she even says she didn't originate it. She was inspired by Tyler Perry's Medea character and a line from, or several lines or something from those movies or a movie. And Mel has doubled down on, I've never heard that poem. I've never seen that poem. I know nothing about this. How dare you? There was an article in the New York Post basically saying Mel has spent 10 years uplifting people, and why would she either A, need to steal something from somebody, or B, not acknowledge someone? It kind of comes across as thou doth protest too much. However, having said that, we don't know what we don't know. Mel could very well be completely telling the truth and she knows nothing about it, and she's getting offended at people coming at her saying you stole the idea for that book. I've listened to part of the book, and she has a story about where she first came up with it when her daughter Kendall was telling her at her son Oakley's prom party, like pre-prom party, when Oakley and all his friends wanted to go to some taco stand and have dinner in their prom clothes before the prom, and it was pouring rain, and Mel was like trying to sort of micromanage the whole thing, as moms tend to do. And her daughter Kendall kept saying, "Mom, let them, just let them." And it hit her. That is her story. That's her perspective. And it's a great story. It's really adorable. And who's to say that that's not her truth? And Cassie's truth is her truth. And all of the people who say that they saw Mel post Cassie's poem on her Instagram poem, that's their truth. We don't know what we don't know, and we all have different perspectives. So rather than doing an entire episode about that, though, that's all I'm going to say. You can go to my Substack, you can read my article if you want to hear more or read more. Sage Justice is an author, poet, artist who has a Substack, and she is really advocating for Cassie and her position and just trying to get acknowledgement. I mean, you can't trademark 2 words. Just ask Donald Trump or Paris Hilton. You're fired. That's hot. Weren't able to trademark them. Mel's team has tried to trademark Let Them and was turned down, but I guess they filed an injunction and they're still trying. Listen, Mel has the money to do it. Cassie doesn't. I really wish Cassie all the best in her pursuit of at least being acknowledged for being part of the inspiration and for actually starting the movement. Because to be honest, Cassie started the movement. Her poem went viral before you even had the idea. And I love you. I'm not going to stop loving you and your message. And, people can hate me for that. But I think Mel is inspirational and I think she's done a lot of good for a lot of people. I don't really particularly agree with the way she's handling it, but I don't know what I don't know. I really would hope that she would lift Cassie up and at least have her on the show and talk about it. I mean, that's what I would do if I were in her position. But again, I'm not Mel. Mel has a team of she's got 300 employees and a team and a PR marketing machine. So the little ones among us who are unknown are going to have different perspectives on it than someone who's in the upper echelons of fame and fortune, as it were, the way that Mel is. I mean, she was on Oprah. When you're on Oprah, you've reached a level that many of us strive toward and don't reach. So anyway, back to I'm going to switch to something I was thinking about this morning in the car while I was taking my son to his campus, and I was thinking about how as we grow, we often have people around us sort of start changing toward us. Now, I personally have experienced this many times. My marriage has grown and changed in form, and that is because my husband and I are family and we love each other deeply and we are best friends, and we have grown both together and separately. And we've altered our marriage to suit our needs, which is something that a lot of people are maybe afraid to do or even to talk about or approach the topic. But he and I have we make it work, and when something stops working, we alter course, because that's what you do for the person that you love. That's what you do for your family and your children. We own businesses together. We own a home together. We have 2 teenage boys together, and we have a really great life. I have a lot of big dreams, and so does he. And we support each other in those. Um, but the people around you may not necessarily want to grow with you when you start to grow and change and really uh, dive within and start finding the things that light you up. Um, People may bristle, push back. People may completely reject you. I've had that happen many times. I mean, if you're in a period of your life where you feel stuck or you feel lost, I want you to consider something. You already know your purpose and you know what you want from this life. You felt it before, and you may have even reached for it before. But as you did, maybe there was someone around you or something around you pulling you back down, or maybe it was fear, and you got scared and you stopped, because I mean, it's natural to fear change or fear the unknown. In this moment, I will tell you, you have everything you need within you to live the life that you really, really want to live and the life that you deserve to live. It's all within you. It inspired the name of my company, Revolution Within, because a few years ago, I had a revolution within myself. I realized that I wasn't living my life the way that I truly wanted to live it. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. Um, and I'm still in the process of getting there. And one of the things that I've realized and discovered along my way is that, and this has basically just been a pretty recent revelation in my revolution, that the more I dig my heels in and insist that it's not happening fast enough, or I'm not doing enough, or I'm on Substack and I don't have enough subscribers to my Substack because no, this isn't working. The more I do that, the more miserable I am. So I have been working on really focusing my meditations on grounding myself and shifting my perspective to this is part of the journey. This is part of the process of reaching your goal, of getting to where you want to be, living the life that you truly deserve to live and want to live. It's all part of it. And the more we, wail and gnash our teeth and say, why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? Why is this so difficult? Why is this so painful? Because it's part of the journey. Feel the pain. Go through it. Don't suppress it. Don't stuff it down. Feel it. Express it. Get it out of your body. Because if you don't get it out of your body, it stays in there. And it causes pain, and it fuels harmful behaviors if you don't actually work on processing feelings. That's part of the whole reason why you process your feelings. And we haven't been taught that. We have no emotional intelligence curriculum in schools, which my impossible dream, and I'm putting it out there, is to create a curriculum for our educational system that would actually teach emotional intelligence starting at probably 7th or 8th grade level, because I think 13, 14, it's kind of the age when I can say that my children are sort of beginning to tuck into it. Not my younger son per se. He's a lot more like I was at that age, and I didn't want to hear anything my parents had to say. But all I cared about was fitting in then. But my older son, who's almost 16, he seems to be picking up on emotional intelligence and the concept and the awareness of it pretty seamlessly, which is really cool. I don't know if his high functioning autism has anything to do with that, but because he's not super emotionally driven the way that my younger son is. My younger son presents his ADHD with a lot of my friend Linz and I were just talking about this. It's like a rejection dysphoria. It's like active rejection dysphoria. I don't remember quite the actual terminology, but it's when you take things so deeply and personally and you just react, and it just your feelings just get hurt, and you just you just feel like it's actually physically painful. And that's actually part of ADHD, which I've learned very recently. So my next point on this was when you're in these spirals of like why is this taking so long? And I really want this to happen. It's not happening for me. I'm working so hard. I'm working. And shift your desire to feelings of gratitude for where you are in the journey, because desire is a very low frequency. Frequencies are expressions of energy. And I know this is going to get kind of woo here, but everything is energy. I've talked about this before. Everything is energy. We are all made up of energy. The whole universe is made up of energy, and energy can't be exchanged or destroyed, or excuse me, energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be exchanged. So energy goes in frequencies, and we always think of frequencies as things that you can hear, but they're kind of, and they are, because you have like frequency levels, but different frequency levels, energy can be elevated to higher frequencies. And as you go up in the higher frequency, you begin to attract things within that frequency. Desire is in a very low frequency, like anybody can desire shit. But as you start moving desire toward gratitude or toward a higher frequency feeling, that attracts more of the higher frequency things to you. So if you begin to practice releasing worry, fear, and guilt over disappointing people and leaving them behind, it's important to realize that you're not leaving anyone behind as you move forward, as you elevate your progress, as you start to shine, as you step into your purpose. The people who come with you are the people who are your people. The ones who support you and love you regardless of the decisions you make or the mistakes you make or the choices or those are the people that deserve you. I've had many people fall away that just, I felt the rejection. I have ADHD. I felt that acute rejection dysphoria. Oh, it's so painful. It is. It is painful to feel rejection. But then there's this saying, rejection is redirection. It's true. When someone rejects you, or you perceive them to have rejected you, I no longer really see it as rejection. I see it as like, we don't match. We don't match. Our energies do not align. It took work for me to get there. It took practice. But when you consider rejection as redirection, that's a mindset shift that can really help you understand direction in your life, is what I'm talking about. We have things in our lives that this is what I believe. I believe that we're all here. We all serve a purpose. We all have something that we are meant to do, meant to be. I was meant to have these children. I didn't want to be a parent. I met my husband and I wanted kids. And I fought it for a while, right up until my biological clock literally started ticking like this, like in My Cousin Vinny. Thank you, Marissa Tomei. And that was my direction. They are part of my purpose here. My relationship with my husband, part of my purpose here. I believe that this podcast, doing what I'm doing now, offering coaching to, really sensitive people who are sensitive empaths who are in business or who want to do more in their lives, who want to be public facing, who create content, who when trolls come at them or they get rejected in some way or they they just feel it so deeply. My series this weekend is about getting emotionally attached to media or the things that happen in the world and how deeply that can affect an empath. You are better served detaching from it. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It means that you are setting a boundary and preserving your energy for what you can control. Because we have no control over what is going on in Washington, in Israel and Gaza. We have Palestine. We have no control over that here. What we can control is how we react to it. We have the ability to control how we react to things that come at us. We can control other people. We can control what they do, what they say, what they think. We can control how we react to what they throw at us. And as an empath who has been practicing detachment for quite some time, I can say that the practice works in calming your mind and lowering your anxiety considerably. So when you are able to sort of practice these things and begin to release your attachment to guilt, worry, fear, shame, judgment, the people who support you will stay, and the people who don't, or who don't align with you, or who don't understand you anymore will fall away, and that's okay. You don't need to feel badly about it, and it doesn't make them bad or you bad or anybody bad or wrong. It makes you incompatible, unaligned. And when you've outgrown, consider the things that you've outgrown in your life. Are you still playing with fucking Tonka trucks and Barbie dolls? Maybe. If you are, great. Good for you. I personally am not. I've outgrown things. I've moved on from things in my life, and I've come back to things. I've come back to writing songs. I've come back to, I've been editing other people's things for decades, but I stopped writing my own stuff other than in my journals because I listened to the wrong person. I listened to someone who said, you're not good at this. You shouldn't be trying to do this. It's not going to work for you. I listened to the wrong person. Is it too late for me? Fuck no. Am I breathing? Do I have a pulse? It's not too late. It's not too late for you. Not too late for any of us. We're still above the ground. We're still on this side of the ether. We're still breathing and living. And if you have the wherewithal and you have the drive and you want to live a better life, live a life that feels more aligned with you, live a life that feels more at ease and less anxious and less, this is such a struggle, then here's what I suggest. Breathe. When you feel anxious feelings rising up within you, breathe. This is very grounding. We forget to breathe. Not that we forget to breathe, because we are breathing all the time or else we'd kill over. But we forget that we can relax into our bodies and detach from those feelings by breathing, by closing our eyes, and, as they say, dropping into our bodies. It's not, we become present. Being present in right now, the way that I am doing this video, talking to you, when you become present, the past and the future aren't so flippin' important. It's about right now. It's about understanding that this is your life. This is the life that has come to be. You've been partially the creator of it. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that everything that happens to us is our fault or our responsibility, or it's more about everything that happens to us happens because of reasons. We may not know those reasons, we may know the reasons, but how we react to what befalls us is within our control. We will have deaths in our lives because we are all going to die. That is how this life ends as a human being. When my mother died, I spent about a good year being terrified of death because my children were still young. It was almost 10 years ago. She died 9 years ago. And my biggest fear at the time was, what if I die before I can see my boys grow up? And I had to sit with that. And I ruminated on that a lot. And it wasn't something that I could really talk about with my husband because he has lived for 20 years with this ever-present black cloud, Irish crazies that my mother used to call it, otherwise known as depression. And there were times when he would be worrying as to what he was going to come home to, because I have experienced ideations of a certain kind, and I have lived with them, and I have managed them, and I have figured out my way of when those thoughts come. I understand that they're temporary. I understand that they're not real, and that I don't have to believe them. But for years, I struggled with it. And so I didn't want to talk to him about it. I didn't want to talk to him about the fear of death because my mom just died. And so, I mean, my fear of death kind of locked in that he wasn't going to have to worry about me doing anything at that point. But what helped me was this. I began to use a sort of visual, not analogy, metaphor, I guess, of comparing death to the high dive. You know what a high dive is? You ever been swimming? You ever been to a community pool? You ever watch the Olympics? Did you ever watch Greg Louganis? Oh, he was an Olympic athlete in the 80s, right? 80s, 90s. Super hot. I know he's gay, but still, I can look. Anyway, when I would start thinking about, I still do this, when I start thinking about and kind of getting that flutter in my chest of anxiety about like dying and the unknown, because we don't know what happens after we die, I imagine climbing up the high dive and going to the end of the diving board and looking over. Because when I was younger, and my siblings and my childhood best friend, my cousin Michelle, can all attest to this because they got to witness this. I would get in line and I would wait in line with all the little, and I would climb up the ladder and I would get to the top and then I would climb right the fuck back down because I would be too afraid. And I remember one day, I don't know how many years into going to the community pool every summer this was, or how old I was, but I do remember that one day I got sick of my own shit and I decided that I was going to jump off the end of that board, no matter how scared I was. And so I did. I jumped. And when I hit that water, that was one of the most exhilarating moments of my life. I conquered my fear. I faced my fear. I conquered my fear. I flew through the air. My stomach went up into my throat, probably almost threw up because that's how fear has always shown up. It's always been always shown up in my stomach, in my chest, and my knees. My knees have literally knocked when I've tried to sing before when I was younger. And when I hit that water, I knew that I could do it. So my analogy now if that is the proper word, metaphor, simile, analogy, all of the things, for the fear of diving. See what I just did there? If you're afraid of dying, think about diving off a diving board into a pool of water. And if you've not done it before, maybe give it a try. Because when you face your fears, when you dive into something, no matter how terrified you are, and you break the surface of the water, and that exhilaration, that feeling, there's nothing like it. I can only compare it to the feeling of finishing a song. The unmitigated joy that I feel when I finish writing something, when I'm one chapter away from finishing an entire book, and it feels really great. I feel like I've really accomplished something. Those songs that I've written that are out there, they're out there. They're on Apple Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. This is on Apple Podcasts. Those songs that I've written are out there on Apple Music. They're out there on Spotify. They're out there. Now, granted, maybe I don't even know if even 100 people have heard my stuff, but it doesn't matter. I put it out there. I took a chance. I dove off the board. I hit the water. And the more times you do that in your life, the easier it gets to do. That's why I say practice, patience, and persistence are the 3 P's that are really important in achieving anything and getting past blocks and getting unstuck. When you practice something, you get better at it. Because guess what? None of us are good at shit when we first do it. Babies don't just hop out of the womb and start walking, you know? But they fall down, they get back up, and they do it again. So calling ourselves failures and saying, I just keep failing and I'm this and I'm a loser and blah, blah, perspective shift. No, you're trying. Failing shows us what to tweak or how to change direction, how to redirect, if you will. So I should probably wrap this up because I am starting to ramble. As you grow, remember, not everyone else is going to grow with you, and that's okay. It doesn't make anyone a bad person. It doesn't make anyone evil or whatever word you want to use. You or them. It just means that you're not in the same vibe anymore. You're not in the same frequency, and that's okay. It's okay for friendships to end because you're no longer compatible. It's okay for romantic relationships to end because one person didn't match your vibe. There's 6 billion people on this planet. Someone else will. And I understand that it's painful to keep putting yourself out there. I do understand that. I have been hurt many, many times. But the more often you do it, the better you get at it. The more you're rejected, the better you get at taking it. Now, granted, you could get bitter and resentful about it and tuck in and be like, nobody, or you can say, all right, that's not the right person for me. Next. And as you grow, it gets easier to do that part. Anyway, that's what I have for you this episode. I'm not going to say this week because I actually skipped a week. I didn't record anything last week because it was my younger son's birthday and I just had other things to do, like almost finished that book. And so thank you for watching, for listening, for following me, for the few dozen people, few dozen, not even, well, maybe 20 people so far that have caught on to the Revolution Within extravaganza. And I really appreciate it. Um, I hope you guys are enjoying the content. Listen, since y'all know me, people who are listening to this know me personally. So if there's something that you want me to talk about, let me know. Reach out. Just send me an email or a text, or pick up the phone and call me. I mean, text first. Please don't pick up the phone without texting. This is 2025, not 1990. But yeah, if there's something that you want me to talk about or want to talk with me about, just reach out. Dana at revolution-within.com is my email address. My website is at revolution-within.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at revolution_within31. I may change that. But if I change it now, I got to go through and I got to change everything. So if I'm going to change it, I'm going to do it all at once. And today is not that day. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. And this is Dana signing off. And remember, all will be well. Take care.